Hey, this is Dave Lockwood with Pros Demolition. If you need demolition work done in the Fort Myers, Naples, Sarasota, Bradenton area, please give us a call, 239-333-7678. And hey, I just wanted to share this with you. I'm on my morning bike ride, and I was just going to share the ride with you for a little bit. So truly the blessing that we got from Milton was that it really cleaned up the beaches. They're nice and clean. They're not as deep as they were. They seem to be, it seems like the storm, when it came in, it pushed a lot of sand up onto the road, but it also pulled a lot of sand back towards the ocean. So the beach renourishment is underway. They're bringing about 200 foot of sand in front of the DEP line, which is the Department of Environmental Protection line. And it's making for some really deep, thick beaches. It's absolutely unbelievable what they're able to do. So there's a rig offshore. We're going to do a video on this actually today. There's a rig about 1.5 miles offshore, and they are sucking up the sand from the bottom of the Gulf, and they're pumping it over here to the beach, and they're making the beach deeper and extending it further out into the water. As a matter of fact, that's part of the reason why I was talking to the mayor, why they're extending the pier out further. Because once they do the beach renourishment, the pier that we had before would only be about half of what it was sticking out into the water. So I'm just going to be quiet for a little bit and just ride along and let you hear the sound of the ocean. Morning. So if you're wondering, it's about 75 degrees right now. If you look over here, you see how many of the houses are missing. So what does that mean to you if you're not from Fort Myers Beach? That means if you come down here, you got a little bit easier access to the beaches. If you don't want to be in the crowded part of the beaches, you can come up here. They're not being very harsh as far as people parking. And you can see more of the beach now than you ever could for a long time. There's so many houses that are gone, so much of the landscaping and the garages and stuff. You couldn't hardly even see the beach before Hurricane Ian came in. So there's another kind of a benefit for the general public as far as getting more access to the beaches. Morning. So it's about 10 minutes after sunrise. If you look off in that distance, that's Sanibel. This is what I'm talking about. You see how much of the beach you can see from our main road, which is Estero Boulevard. As we come up on these condominiums up here, the condominiums, like that one right there to the right, kind of the salmon color building, still empty. 2 years almost 2 months after Hurricane Ian hit. Now Milton and Helene would have had storm surge running through there, but really probably had little damage, possibly some damage. Some of the buildings got some damage from Milton and Helene, the storm surges, but the majority of these buildings, they're just not finished. They've been working on them ever since Hurricane Ian hit us back in September 28th of 2022. See all the birds? Lots of new houses being built. Lots of things that still need to be cleaned up. But the beaches are still just, that's what people come to this Fort Myers Beach for, is these beaches. And these beaches are absolutely beautiful and wonderful. And there's a lot of them. I mean, we have 7 miles of beaches here. The whole length of our island. Now if you look here, you see that lower level right there? That's an example of the sand getting pushed up into the Estero Boulevard, and then some of it got pulled back, and I'm up on top of this little hump that it made. But it made the little swale there in a lot of areas. Those buildings right there, that building that they're putting they're building the roof on it, the soffits and everything, those were sitting down on the road when the hurricane came in, Hurricane Milton, and that stuff was everywhere. And I don't know how much of it they were able to recover, hopefully a lot. So they are completely, if you notice there's no windows in that building, they're completely rebuilding those buildings. I mean, talking about new roof, new HVAC, all new windows. I believe they gutted them all the way. So when they're done, they're going to be nice. They're going to be brand new. And they're going to be expensive. The HOA fees are going to be crazy. Between the insurance going up and these new regulations that they put into place to make sure that what happened over at that Surfside doesn't happen on any of these buildings, which is what I'm talking about, is them collapsing with people in them. So that one's empty. This one right here, the brown one's empty. Those two right there are both empty. The white one next to that is a multi-million-dollar residential house. The next one over, it's empty as well. So we're 2 years, 2 months, and they're still struggling to get this stuff done. The building at the end of my street, they were really close to getting it occupied, and when they put the elevators back in, they didn't spend the extra money to move the elevator equipment up so it wouldn't be subject to storm surges, and now they're putting in brand new elevators again. Same thing with their HVAC systems. They put them down at floor level. Notice they're putting all new hurricane windows in that whole building. That's crazy expensive. So these are multi-million-dollar properties here built by Potter. This building here, when the hurricane hit, Hurricane Idalia, they had just got the roof put up there and they didn't have it connected properly yet. The truss system and look at that bird. The Hurricane Idalia flipped the whole roof over onto the parking lot. Talk about a kick in the teeth. Whew. So here's where, this is my goal for the day. I'm gonna head back to the house here in a minute, but I wanted to bring you down here and show this to you. So if you look way out there, about 1.5 miles, there'll be a rig out there sucking up sand and sending it to the beach. This is where they're working from. They're working from the Newton Park. Used to be a donated house here that they had bathrooms in. And all that pipe you see back there, that's all for the beach renourishment program. Now this was, if you're watching our other videos, this was a seawall that was unearthed on both sides. You had about 3 foot of it on this side and about 3 feet down on the other side, out about 20 feet. So they filled all this back in. They brought sand in so that they could work, and then they can go over the seawall with their equipment. And then if you look at all these pipes, that thing you're looking at right there, that is what they use to glue these pipes together. And then what they're doing is they're taking that bulldozer right there and they're pulling the pipes down. And I'll show you that down there in a minute. They're pulling the pipes down there and they're getting like half a mile lengths of these pipes together, and then eventually they'll push them into the water where they'll partially float, and then they'll pull them out there, and then they'll connect the rig that's sucking up the sand. And then what they do is they bring it in here and they make like a big pool of water, and the water comes in like a fountain, and the water comes in and flows back into the sea, and all the sand stays put. And then they use that sand and they push it around with bulldozers to make it smooth again. So that wall right there was not exposed until after Hurricane Milton. So that's an example of how much sand has gotten displaced. Up here, these are the stretches of pipes that I was talking about. So they're putting them together, and then they are stretching them out right here. They're doing that for 2 reasons. One is to make sure that the connection that they made is strong enough that the pipes are not going to come apart once they get into the water. And the second reason is so that they can have smaller sections to maneuver into the water. So what they're going to do is they're going to literally take a bulldozer and push them into the water. Then they'll have the drilling rig grab them with a chain and they'll pull them. And they'll keep them full of air as much as they can so that they'll kind of float a little bit, and they'll get them stretched out for that 1.5 miles. Then what they'll do is they'll put a little platform out there for them to sit on, and then the drilling rig will go out there and hook their pumps up to it, and they'll pump that water and sand up onto the beach. So do you see how long these things are? I don't know if they're a 1/2 mile or if they're a 1/4 mile or 1/10 of a mile. I really don't know. I can't judge it, but they're really long. So that bulldozer, that's about as much as it can pull with the chain, is that length right there. And you see the bolt ends at the end? That's where they're going to bolt them together when they don't have their connector with them. That green machine back there. So this is another area where people haven't quite cleaned up the mess from Hurricane Ian. There's quite a few of them here that haven't cleaned up. That is a gazebo for one of the local neighborhoods here, and that is their beach access point. So they own about 30 feet all the way to the road, and that gives all the people that live across the street access to the beach legally, so they don't have to go through people's yards and stuff. So as the day goes on, more and more people are out. So as we get closer to the Lanikai area, the North Beach area, we're seeing more and more people out here. So I got to go back. I got somebody meet me at the house. So we're going to get the view this way for, I don't know, I'm just going to go as long as it makes sense. So what do you guys think? Do you like these bike rides? If you do, please leave a comment and let me know. I don't want to over post or make people upset or anything like that. I just like, we're doing a couple things with this channel. I wrote a couple books. One of them on junk removal is coming out, and it shows basically how we went from being broke as a joke to own and remove it pros, which is just truly a blessing for us, and how we did it and how we do the green stuff that we do. And then also the demolition, we do the building demolitions and selective demolition, and we do that for less money, and we repurpose a lot. We resell kitchen cabinets and vanities and appliances, furniture, and most all that stuff. Just about every building you see down through there, we've worked in them, and probably worked in them 10 times. We're the company you can count on to come in and not make a mess, and we haul everything away as we're working. And so we're expanding up into Sarasota. That's going to be our first location, second location, I guess. Our first second location. We're planning on heading to Tampa after that, but so that's what we're doing. That's what the channel's all about, primarily. But then secondarily, what I do is I just love to show you guys interesting stuff, because we see a part of Florida that a lot of people don't get to see. We see the inside of these fancy, amazing, expensive, wealthy condos. We're inside of these houses in Port Royal and taking them apart. Port Royal, if you're not familiar with this area, is like Beverly Hills. It's growing up the way I grew up. I grew up pretty humbly, lower middle class. Been down in Florida since 2003. I just love it down here, and this is my nirvana. This is my restful place. So there's the guys showing up over there to get their get started putting those pipes together. And look how many of them pipes they got back there. So this is the south. We're actually mid-island. Right across from us here is Publix. So, hey, good morning. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. So I do these bike rides not every day. Right now I've got a bacterial infection in my hand, and I have to take intravenous antibiotics twice a day. And on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I have to take it 3 times a day. And the second one takes 4 hours. So this is a slow growing bacteria. They say it's going to take a long time to kill it. So I'm going to be doing this for a while, and that stuff wears me out. But at any rate, I typically, out of a 7-day week, I'm biking on the beach for 5 days of that. And that's my way of exercising, and it's just so beautiful and peaceful. So again, down in the comments, by the way, our phone number, if you're looking for used cabinets, appliances, and all that stuff, we're down on Racetrack Road in Bonita Springs. You can look us up online, www.reusitpros.com. And if you're interested in demolition work, or junk removal work, or concrete cutting work, or building demolition work, selective demolition work, 239-333-7678, and it's www.reusitpros.com. So we're heading to the south end of the beach, and I'm going to resist the temptation to talk for maybe in the next 10 minutes, and just so we can just listen to the ocean. Good morning. By the way, if you're into shell collecting, there's a lot of shells on the beach, especially on the south end. There's not very many people that get out here. So I can't be quiet, I'm sorry. Here's the definition of bird brains. Because these same birds, and it's always the same, I don't know what kind of bird those are, but it's the same ones. They don't figure out I'm going this way and to double back the other way. They keep getting in front of me, and then when I come up, they take off again. So when people say you're a bird brain, that's what they mean. They're not thinking. It's kind of humorous. I don't want to get my shoes wet, but there was a I think they call them hammerhead. What am I trying to think of? They got claws on them like, geez, I can't think of what I'm trying to think of. So they're basically, I see them frequently. We have a bunch of shells in our yard. We collect shells on the beach all the time. And I bought a bunch of shells from a company, and instead of having grass around my house, I have shells everywhere. And then we bring back the shells that we find on the beach and we put them everywhere in my yard. And it's just our little hobby or a little fun thing to do. So I wanted to show that to you, but I didn't want to get my feet wet. I'm sorry. That's a hammerhead crab, I believe is what it's called. Morning. Do you see the big smile on that guy's face? You saw what I'm doing. Are you still outside? Hey, come on back down to Santini Plaza. I'll meet you there. Santini Plaza. Just punch in your phone. It's the first plaza on the way back towards Fort Myers. Yep. I'll meet you there. So here's an interesting fact. You know what happens to most pelicans? When they get to a certain age, they have dove into the water so many times they become blind and they can't see anymore. And that's when they pass away. The other thing is have you ever seen a baby pelican? I would say no, because what they do is they keep them away from everybody in remote areas until the babies are big enough that they can fend on their own. So those are two little trivia points for Fort Myers Beach. Again, I don't know this stuff any more than just hearing people talk about it here. We had a pelican for a long time. We were feeding him because he was getting very, very thin, and I'm sure we kept him alive a couple months longer. But he got so thin that he just one day never came back, and you could tell he couldn't see. He was doing stuff like walking off the dock and things like that. It's Mother Nature, but it wasn't fun to see. Okay, so these buildings here, those two right there are being built. The one that's almost built and the one next to it's just getting finished up. The building next to that's empty. That green building, empty. The white building, gutted and empty. The next building over, empty. These are all buildings being worked on since Hurricane Ian came in. So that's what we're dealing with here. The hurricane, when it hit here, was lethal, and it's definitely set Fort Myers Beach back, you know, probably 10 years. And none of the big developers so far have gotten anywhere with getting higher building, getting to lift the height restrictions. And if you're here right now, you know why. Because if you've sat in that traffic for an hour, there's practically nobody here. We're probably not even at 40% of our population, although we're very early in the season. There's a lot of people here right now. Let's say we got 30 or 40% of the people here. You're waiting in traffic for an hour to an hour and a half, or to an hour and a half just to go off the island. So what if you add another 10,000 units on the island? It's going to be unbearable. I don't even know how. I fortunately bought my house close to the very last street on the island, and my business is in Bonita. So it still jams up that way, but not nearly what it does going the other way. And I do think that if they can create some way of keeping the traffic flowing, it would be just fine. It's just a bottleneck at the downtown area. And I do think there's some solutions. They're doing a gigantic roundabout, so hopefully that's going to work. So look at all these shells. They're everywhere. Look at that. Good morning.
Good morning.
So look at all these shells. So if you're in the mood to go shelling, this is a good place, and this is a good time too. So where I'm at on the beach, I'm going to be cutting over and going in over by where the Wyndham used to be, which is where Pinchers used to be. And that's where I'm heading in. So I'm going to walk my bike from here. So anyway, I'm going to do a real quick 360. It's Remove It Pros Demolition, Dave Lockwood. Like I said, if you got demolition services you need done, or you want a copy of my junk removal book, just reach out in the comments. And I just thought I'd share this with you. Hopefully you find it interesting. And if you're down here on the beach and you see me, hey, say hi. So that's it. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.